Okay, now we're getting started. So one of the big things is that, the subject is strategic planning. And a lot of time, people think strategic planning is for big corporations, huge corporations. And so typically that's where it sort of resumes. One of the things that's really important for startups, especially very young startups, is this concept of you know, planning as strategically. So let me get slides up. We always start off with the introduction to our chancellor. So let me share my slides, and we'll get a little speech from our chancellor.
Made in Hawaii,
How's
produced
that?
in Hawaii, and processed in Hawaii brands. Resources available on site will support local entrepreneurs in improving their products and business models, reducing the need for businesses to leave Hawaii to become viable. We offer programming curtailed around value-added businesses, equipment that are unique to Hawaii and typically too expensive for small businesses. Provide consulting and know-how to help improve products, reduce cost of production, and increase shelf life, all critical to the success of local products and are now available in Central Oahu for statewide access through the community colleges. When we look at facilities that can help support scaling products, bringing new products to market, there's very few in Hawaii. Equipment like our hyperbaric chamber that will help stabilize shelf life for products. These are things that our entrepreneurs need so that their products can get into the store, so that their products can make that trip across the ocean. Keeping businesses local, supporting local agriculture, and strengthening local entrepreneurial pipelines are core to the mission of the Wahiawa Value-Added Product Development Center and the community colleges. I would love for you to learn more about what we are doing here by looking at our website and joining us for a tour so that we can continue strengthening Hawaii's local economy through agriculture.
So that video is not directed at both of you, or three of you. So it's really directed for those who will watch this particular episode on YouTube. And so we want them to all know about the Wahiawa Value-Added Product Development Center. So let's get into some slides. So I like it when it's a small group. That way I get to talk story with each of you. Berkeley took a class from me a while back, and she knows I like to talk story a lot. So Kenya and Devon, I'll be asking questions, and especially Berkeley, if you're not that busy preparing dinner, I'll have a talk story session with you as well. So strategic planning for startups. And the question is, again, he just hit the wrong button. That isn't good. Okay, that should be up. So why should startups conduct strategic planning? And again, the idea of term strategic planning is always sort of lived in this area of mega companies, and they're the ones who's doing it. And so why, as a startup, as a brand new company, should I go ahead and invest my time in creating a strategic plan? So Kenya, what do you think? Why should somebody like you, who are starting up a dog food company, start to look at strategic plan?
Well, if you don't have a plan, you're probably not going to do so well.
Yeah, absolutely right. So how about you, Devon? What do you think? What do you think? Why should young startups really get into strategic planning?
I think this applies to more than just startups, but like Kenyon said, with a good plan, you have a roadmap for the year ahead or the 6 months ahead or however long you're planning out for. It keeps you organized, it keeps you on time, and it helps you set goals that are measurable for the
Fantastic.
future.
Fantastic. So Berkeley, do you have an idea of why you as a young peanut butter company should be doing some strategic planning?
Yeah, I think it's really easy to get lost in all the tasks that feel like they can pile up and kind of forget about what the big important things are to focus on. So having a plan allows you to remain focused on the big to-dos and not get lost in all the small tasks that can happen.
Great. Yeah. So all three of you are right on target. So let's take a look at a sort of a deeper look into strategic planning. Let's go back to the slides. And the answer to my question really is you got very limited and fragile resources. That's one of the things that strategic planning is designed to do, is really to help you conserve these really fragile resources that young startups really sometimes have, and after a while they don't have those resources at hand. So a famous quote from Paul Graham, who wrote How to Start a Startup, and the quote is, you need three things to create a successful startup. Start with good people, make something customers actually want, and spend as little money as possible. So this is the point of strategic planning, because you want to avoid this scenario where you're humming along really nicely and suddenly, for some reason, you start to run low on resources. And if you're not careful, you might just run out of resources enough that you might have to close your business. So one of the things we want to do is to avoid this kind of scenario. And it happens quite often. And maybe you've already, have touched on this little expression that this cartoon character has. And what we want to do is to understand this process called strategic planning. So the process serves as a compass. It's really a compass that helps a business allocate its resources. And the critical word is allocate its resources so that it can capitalize on opportunities in a young startup. The one thing you cannot really afford to do is to use resources that may not be capitalizing on what you really want. And that happens quite often, only because, let me show you the resources that you all have to work with. So these 5 resources, the first one is human resources. That, of course, includes you, but also people that you will hire, or even your suppliers, your vendors, anyone that you come in contact with is your human resources. It has to do with human beings. Of course, you know what material resources are. Your machinery, your cars, your desks, your typewriters, your cell phones, all those things that you need to run your business. Financial resources, of course, the money you need to run your particular business, the cash flow, how fast the money's coming in, how fast the money going out. And the one that oftentimes is misallocated is intellectual resources. So both of you, you have the dog food company and you have peanut butter company. One of the intellectual properties that you need and resources you have is your formulation. So one of the things you have to do is you have to understand that these 4 resources are really fragile. At any given moment, human resources can, suddenly stop your business. Material resources suddenly can stop your business. Intellectual resources, like a whole bunch of things that might have to do with your formulation, may stop your business, as well as financial resources. Running out of money, of course, may stop your business. But the one item that will probably be most detrimental is that 5th resource, which is time. And time is one of those critical resources that once it's gone, it is gone. So human resources, somebody leaves, you can hire them. Material resources, unfortunately, you might lose a piece of machinery, you can buy new ones. Intellectual property, you can create new formulas. Financial, you can get new more loans or grants. But time, once gone, it is gone. And this is one of the areas in which strategic planning is really important in terms of conserving all of these 5 resources and having you allocated in such a way that they actually have more impact than if you weren't doing a strategic plan. So a strategic plan helps to do 4 things. It creates a purpose, something that young startups really may not understand. A lot of them do not engage in this first area called purpose. The next one is positioning in the marketplace. Next is picking key goals to focus on for growth. And lastly, performing critical actions to achieve these desired goals. So this is what strategic planning actually does when it tries to help you allocate your resources. And the way we do it is by looking at the 5 processes. The first one is called mission and vision, which sets your purpose. The next one is situation analysis, which helps you set your position in the marketplace. The third is goals and objectives, which helps you to pick the right focal point, the right things you want to chase down, the right things you want to achieve. And the fourth, strategic and action plans, it helps you to prioritize your resources to go ahead and achieve the goals that you want to go after. And once these are set, we do implementation and evaluation. For a lot of startups, what happens is they start with implementation and evaluation. Stop right here. So how do you think of that? What happens is in the daily give and take of running your business, you sometimes fall into the area of implementing without doing the 4 other compass points. So have you caught yourself doing that?
Oh, totally. I don't have any employees, so I'm mostly doing implementation.
Yeah. So this is the thing. So every time you implement without doing some of the strategic work, it's sort of the resources it's not going to have as much impact as possible. So let's go back. So that's what we're going to be taking a look. This is what we're going to be investing our time with. The remainder of the 45 odd minutes that we have remaining in the session. So let's look at purpose. And this is where mission, vision, and core values come into play. This is the one area for a lot of young startups. They don't pay too much attention in this area. And one of the reasons why they don't pay too much attention is because they're too busy in the implementation. So I have a great idea, develop a great product. Let me go to market. Let me make the product. Let me find buyers. Let me go and market this thing. And so you're caught up in the daily grind of trying to get to market. But the reason you want to look at the mission statements, vision statements, and core values, and I'll invest some additional time in this area, is because it gives you the purpose. And for most companies that do not make it, one of the major reasons they do not succeed is they ran a business and they never really understood their purpose. So these are the mission, vision, and cores are the central reasons why your company exists. It drives your company to do what it does. And we're going to take a look at it, starting with the mission statement. It's a declaration of an organization's purpose. And the one thing it really does, it describes what an organization is. This is the reason why you exist. This is the reason why you're producing dog food. This is the reason why you're producing peanut butter. And so one of the things you wanted to do, it describes the goals. So what do you want to achieve in terms of long-term goals? And what promises are you making to your customers? And it's all developed in this thing called the mission statement. It provides direction and focus for employees. So when you have your employees, or even when you're working with vendors or working with retailers, what you want to do, they will want to understand, why are you doing what you're doing? And so let's take a look at a couple of examples. So Google's mission statement is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Costco's mission statement, to continually provide our members with quality goods and services at the lowest possible prices. McDonald's, to be our customers' favorite place and way to eat and drink. So don't you think just by understanding that simple sentence, it sort of reflects on what your experience is with those companies, don't you think? So one of the things you want to look at in this area for your own companies is to start to look, if you haven't worked on it or you don't have one, start to work about think about what's the mission, what's the purpose of my business, and look at the simple sentences like I've shown you these major corporations. It's one sentence. And so when that translates into a brand, people feel it. And this is the other thing that's important. It helps to develop this bond between the brand, the product, and the customer. And that's the reason why mission statements are important. So any questions about that? Let's go back and take a look at it. So the next area is the vision statement. The vision statement is important because it's now going to set where you want to go in the future. It is, again, a look down the road, and you are deciding, this is where I want to take my company. This is where I take my product. This is where I want to go. I want to end up in this area. It's the guiding North Star. And without a vision statement, people sort of run around in circles. It provides direction and focus for the organization. It provides inspiration. This is the key part. It provides inspiration. If people know where they're supposed to be going, and you provide them a way to get there, they're far more motivated. It's not just employees, it's also the customers. If I'm a customer and I'm doing business with a brand new company, I want to have a great feeling that that company knows what they're doing, where they're going, so that I can follow them. I don't want to buy a product and get involved in a company that might disappear tomorrow. So again, this vision statement is great for the company, great for the founder, great for employees, great for customers. It also guides every decision you make. One of the things that vision statement is, if you're making these daily decisions, and sometimes they're a really critical one, when it becomes really critical, what companies do, major corporations do, they look towards the vision statement. Does it match up? Is what we're about to decide on and do, is it in the same line of where we want to be? Sometimes if you're not careful, you're counterproductive. Also, it differentiates the brand from the competitors. These are, again, examples of mission statements from major corporations. Walmart's to be the ultimate shopping destination where customers save money, no matter how they choose to shop, in store or online. Was that true? And Toyota, lead the way to future of mobility, enriching lives around the world with the safest and most responsible ways of moving people. When we talk in Hawaii, especially, when we say Toyota, one of the things that pops up most often in the people in Hawaii is that it's one of the safest cars that you can buy. And so there it is appearing in their vision statement. Apple, to make the best products on earth and to leave the world a better than we found it. Again, that's Apple's vision statement, always trying to improve and be better. This area, the final area, core values, is so important. They are the foundations of a company's identity. The identity of your company, dog food company, peanut butter company, or Waihua Value-Added Product Development, Leeward Community College, the identity of the organization is founded in the company's core values. What do you believe in? What do you value? It differentiates a company from its competitors because each company has a different core value. It provides customers the reason beyond price. So this is important. If your customers can understand the value that you hold, they will not be so price sensitive. And so this is, again, builds loyalty, but you have to be able to have your core values in place. And it's also a framework for making decisions. Again, very similar to vision. When I make this important decision, is it part of my core values, or am I going against my core values, which may misalign my purpose, which then takes me off the road, and if I'm not real careful, I'm jumping off a cliff. So core values is something that you all should be working on if you haven't worked on it yet. Understand what you believe in, what's my identity, and what's the reputation of the company. These are, again, statements from major companies. Google, committed to significantly improving the lives of as many people as possible, which is true. Disney, innovation, quality, storytelling, and diversity. Again, very simple. Amazon's core values, customer obsession rather than competitive focus, passion for invention, commitment to operational excellence, and long-term thinking. Again, these are all simple values that these companies have. Yeah, any questions about this area, the mission, vision, and values areas?
What are the ways that you would express your vision and your mission to your customers? Like, how do you tell them that story?
So, okay, as an example, the Waihoa Value Added Product Development Center. What do you think of the vision of the Waihoa Value Added Product Development Center?
To teach people how to start food businesses and to, I guess, invest in the local economy.
Yeah, the basic thing that we're trying to achieve at the center is really to be provide additional revenue for agricultural farmers and producers, but the main core one is to keep people in Hawaii. Does that make sense? We want to keep you in Hawaii. So then one way we can keep you in Hawaii is to help you develop these value-added products, and develop your business skills, develop your product skills, so that you can run a vibrant business and stay in Hawaii. Does that make sense? So you hear that often. You hear that often when you come to our events, or you always hear the same theme about growing our local economy, keeping you here in the state of Hawaii. Makes sense. So that's the vision. Did it help you out?
Yeah, so it's like repetition wherever you go.
Yeah, so this is how brands are built. It's all right. So I'm gonna, as opposed to an incubator says, "Oh, we just want you to use our equipment so we can make a profit." So there's two different things that happen, sir. Okay. All right, let's go back. So the next area is called situational analysis, or how you place your position. This is a typical example of what we call a SWOT analysis, which represents strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This is something that is really core to putting yourself into the marketplace. You sort of have to make a hard analysis, looking at your marketing environment, looking at your competitors, and looking at your brand, to get to understand where you are in the marketplace and which spot within that marketplace would be your most advantageous position, where you can compete at the highest level. So what we do in SWOT, this is usually we do these long exercises, but all I'm going to do is really explain the really basics of SWOT so that you can start to do so. If you haven't done so, you can start to do so. So we look at the left side, strength and weaknesses are internal to a company. So this is the strength side is what you do really well within your company, and the weakness side is what you don't do so well. And it's also controlled because it's within your company. They're controllable, so you can actually increase your strength and improve you against your weaknesses. These are things that you can do. You can do your training or product development, pricing areas. So anything that you are good at, strength, and you can control it, you can do something within the marketplace. On the right-hand side that you're looking at, opportunities and threats, these are external. And external simply means they're not controllable by you. They will present themselves to you, and it's up to you to decide what you want to do with that. So opportunities, of course, is things that are really aligned with your strengths. Opportunities open and close really rapidly. One of the things that's really interesting is opportunity. The doors open, but they shut very quickly. So if you know what your strengths are and you see the opportunity, you can then engage in taking advantage of that opportunity. Threats, again, is external, so uncontrollable. And it has to do with if something should go against one of your weaknesses, will it really harm you? So again, one of the things you want to do is if you understand what your weaknesses are and you're working to improve it, and you see an external factor occurring that might hurt you, you now have to decide what am I going to do about it. And so it's really a overall look at where you want to be. Of course, you want to be in that strength and opportunity section as opposed to the weak and threatening side. So SWOT again is things the company does well, weaknesses, things the company does not do well, opportunities, conditions in the external environment that favor your strength, and threats, condition, and external environment that you're going to go against your weaknesses. So one of the things happens is that in that strength area, this is one of the core areas in which you're going to build your brand on. So, Kenny, what's a important part of your dog formulation? What makes it so special?
All fresh food, locally made.
Okay, fresh food. So that would be a strength of yours. And
Mhm.
so the formulation that you do to produce your fresh food, dog food, is again the strength because you understand the formulation, you understand the nutritional value. Same thing with Berkeley with peanut butter. She understands peanuts really well, and she understands how to produce peanut butter really well. So those are strengths in which you will start to build your brand and go to market on. So so when we talk about strengths and opportunities, what's the opportunity for dog food during the December?
What's the opportunity? I mean, it's the same as any other month. Lots of dogs here. They
Okay,
need food every day.
all right. So, Berkeley, what do you think is an opportunity for peanut butter in December?
Mostly holiday gifts.
Yeah.
People, thinking about giving gifts to their family in general, but also people like traveling for the holidays and wanting to bring something from their like home to their friends or family to share like where they live with their family and friends.
So absolutely correct. So this area, this is where you're saying my strength is the dog food, nutritional, organic dog food, fresh peanut butter. Now, where's my opportunity in December? And it is probably in gifts. That makes sense. So, Devon, how about you? What do you think?
Opportunities in December?
So, what's the opportunities for a marketing specialist in December?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, to relate it back to our CPG entrepreneurs here, like that is exactly something that we did. I don't know if you guys are on the mailing list, but we did a holiday gift guide for Oahu Value Added. So, uplifting local entrepreneurs, acknowledging that it's that time of year for people to be gifting and getting together for meals and gatherings. So we use that timing to create a quick little marketing gift guide.
Great. Hey, so that's how you do the SWOT analysis, but you have to do it. So one of the things you want to do, you want to do it on a regular basis. Usually, what we do, most companies we do it. You can't do it on a daily basis; it's too much work. But you want to maybe take a look at it at least quarterly, because you have seasons. The quarters sort of follow the season. So when the seasons change, you might want to look at doing your SWOT, and that usually falls within a quarter: first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. So let's go back to leave SWOT or positioning and get into the next area, which is goals and objective, and that's picking what are you going to go after? What are you going to chase? A lot of times for young startups, there are so many opportunities that they try to chase everyone down. And when you try to chase down all the different opportunities that's in front of you, you may be wasting your resources because you can't chase everyone down and with the same effectiveness if you just chase one or two down. So what the goals and objective areas in strategic planning is really picking the right goals, the right things to chase down, the right things to pursue. And objectives is really the small measurable ways and how you're gonna get there. So what we do here is there's something called the SMART format. The goal is a broad stroke, but in the objective, you have to be a little bit more concise, specific. You usually set it up as a measurement so that you can slowly get to where the goals are, going to be achieved. So it's these little small steps we call objectives, and we often use what we call the SMART objective methodology to pick the right things to go after. And so let's take a look at SMART. So SMART stands for specific. One of the things that's really great in terms of strategic planning is being very clear and concise on what you want to accomplish. You can't be vague about it. So what happens when you're too vague is that you start to get fuzzier on the edges, and you might just not you'll be using too much resources to achieve what you think you're achieving. The key is measurability, and that's the M. You have to set up ways using numbers, whether it's pure numbers, percentages, some way that has numerical tracking, because as you track it, you will understand whether you're falling behind, you're ahead, or you're neutral. And it's in this, and so numbers are unforgiving. A 2 is a 2. There's no way to around to fake that 2 is something else other than a 2. And so in the SMART, we say you have to be specific. You also have to set up a way to measure it. The other one is that you have to make sure that it's really achievable. And it may be challenging, but possible given enough resources. If you have the right amount of resources, you can achieve it. Sometimes you chase something and you don't have the resources, and so you just wasted a whole bunch of time and energy. So achievable, you have to sort of be really careful and say, yeah, we can achieve, given the right amount of resources that I have, we can reach it. The one that breaks organizations' hearts is realistic. And so many times I've seen where teams in companies have a great plan, they have a great objective, and so they start to do things like a SMART, but they don't do the R, which means you're going to ask people to chase something that they know is not achievable. It's not realistic. So when you're doing this area of the SMART objective, double check your R, because this is, if you're having employees, this is where you'll break their heart, because they will know that they can't, I don't have enough resources. It's not going to happen, but we're going to work hard, but we'll work hard and get nothing out of it, and you break your heart. So make sure that R is really looked upon hard. Time is time-based, which means you have to be really careful with your time, because time is the only resource that cannot be recovered. And most opportunities open and close so rapidly that if you are not time-bound in making these decisions and actions, it might just close on you. So the idea is, why should we use this? So it's typically, why should we use it? And the most important thing is clarity and focus. If it's fuzzy to you, and it's fuzzy to your customers, it's fuzzy to employees, then it's not going to happen, because they don't know whether they should sit there and watch things happen or actually make things happen. So it provides motivation. When you start to measure, you can see progress. So again, as you see the numbers go up or your measurements move forward, you get more motivated to stay on track, even to work even harder to speed up what's happening. The other one is accountability. You cannot dodge a number. I mean, a number is a number is a number. And so if you set it up and what happens, you don't hit it, you can't say, well, it's kind of close. What happens is that it helps to motivate people. One thing about accountability, do not use it as a hammer to hammer down people. Use it as a way to get them motivated. Simply by saying, yeah, we're so close. If you're behind, you don't say, well, we're behind. You might want to say something like, oh, we're so close. A little bit more effort and we can get there. So accountability drives also motivation and clarity. And it provides strategic alignment. It means you're still on course. So many times in the daily grind of doing things to keep your business happy, your customers happy, your vendors happy, your bankers happy, making people happy, you sometimes go off the path and you're out of strategic alignment. So by following the SMART framework, it keeps you on track. So this is a famous quote from Peter Drucker. If you're not a management person, he is a famous management guru. I mean, a whole bunch of things came out of his teaching. And so his one great teaching is if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. Again, this is really important. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. The other one, what we're coming back on, now called prioritizing, has to do with this quote. Strategy is about making choices. It's about deliberately choosing to be different. So Michael Porter, again, a Harvard business professor, a very famous person in terms of the world of management and entrepreneurship. So strategy is about making choices. And so this is a critical area when we look at strategic planning. This is strategies and tactics. And you see something called opportunity cost. I want to explain that in the next slide. But strategy and tactics is all about prioritizing. Now you know what you're going to chase after, but you have an array of options in front of you, array of opportunities and things you might want to do. So you have to start to prioritize which one of these will I go after. So strategy, this is how I'm going to get there. So strategy is about how do I get there? I know where I want to go. And so how do I get there? So strategy is a big picture of how we're going to get there. It's very high level. It has to do with, this is the overarching view of how we're going to get there. Tactics are the individual small steps of what you're going to do to get there. And so too many times, what startups do is they get involved with the tactics without looking back to see if it matches their strategy. So a lot of times you get thrown off because you're doing all the small steps, but you don't, and you're actually taking steps away from the big picture. And before you know it, you're far from where you want to be. And so when we look at this area of strategy, first have to lay out the overall picture of where I want to get to and how I'm going to get there. And look at the tactics, the small daily things you need to do to get there. And you have to pick. You're going to make these hard decisions, sometimes soft decisions, but you're going to prioritize each one of these efforts. And this is where that term opportunity cost comes in. Real fast. So how many of you heard of the term opportunity cost? Yeah, okay, good. So one of the things that a lot of entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs do is they don't understand the concept of this opportunity cost. So let me try and explain that a little bit. And one of the dangers about it. And so opportunity cost, let's get that black thing up there. Okay, now it's gone. Opportunity cost is the value of the next best thing you give up when you make a choice. It's what you miss out on by picking one option over the other. So when you make a decision, you're going to give up other opportunities or other options. So there's going to be a trade. So every decision you make, there's going to be a trade-off. Oh, I've got this and go to that. I'm not going to have it. And this is where a lot of young entrepreneurs, when I say young, it's not by age, it's by the age of the company, is they don't understand opportunity cost because they make decisions and what they do is they regret the choice because, maybe I should have done that. Maybe I should have. So one of the things I like to often counsel with entrepreneurs is do not regret the choices you make. It will keep you from moving forward. So understand opportunity cost. When I make this decision, I'm thinking it's the best decision I can make based on the opportunities in front of me. Yes, I have to leave some other opportunities off my table, but I'm not going to worry about it because this is where I want to go. Once you start to say, oh, maybe I should have gone this way. Maybe I should have made that decision instead. This is it. You will start to be frozen in place. And then from then, if you're not real careful, you will then overthink every decision that you make, and you'll be stuck in what we call analysis paralysis. So understand opportunity costs. when you make a decision in one area, you know you're going to give up something that may be valuable in another area, but that's the cost of the opportunity. So that's one of the things I really like to work with entrepreneurs on understanding it, because so many times what happens is that they get frozen in place because they keep saying, maybe I should have. So don't let this area really stump you. So when we talk about strategic planning, a lot of times people think, oh, it's so complicated, it's so difficult, it's really tough, because they think it's so much work. And for young entrepreneurs like yourself, like you, Kenyon, and Berkeley, and Devon, it doesn't have to be that sophisticated. So I'm going to show you a real easy way to make these decisions that doesn't take a lot of time. It doesn't really take a whole bunch of effort other than to think it through and understand each of them. So let me show you this. This is something that I really like, and I've used it often in running my companies, and because it's kind of a focus way to make decisions. So let me pop that guy up. So a simple system. So factor simply means there's something that happens. In this case, if we talk about rainy season, so the factor is it's raining and we get storms. So okay, fine. So let's say you're a tomato farmer and so, well, rain is bad. So a factor is rain. And the implication of too much rain, too long, the implication is I won't be able to grow my tomatoes, or I may lose 20% of my crop. So you now know the implication is there's a lot of rain coming. You might lose 20% of your crop. What's the impact? The impact is, yeah, I'm only have 80% of my crop. So what actions should I take? The action could be that you now secure, if you're selling to Safeway, you go to Safeway and say, look, Safeway, the rainy season, I'm probably going to lose 20% of my crop. And so you're one of my best customers, so I want to make sure that you have it. Let's make an agreement that you'll take the tomatoes when I bring them. So again, this is a simple way. What's a factor? What's the implication? What's the impact to your business, and what actions should be taken? These 4 steps keeps you focused in making the decisions. So any questions about these 4 steps? Let me go. Let's stop. Any question about those 4 steps? It's pretty simple way to make these critical decisions. And the other part about strategic planning is that it allows you to establish line of sight in any organization, whether small or mega. Line of sight is important. Line of sight simply means that people understand where they are, where they're going, how they're going to get there, and they have a way of knowing when they do get there. So this is a case where when we look at the action steps of establishing the goals, what you want, establishing the objective, the major ways of looking how we're going to get there, and the actual small steps that needed to actually be taken, you're creating a line of sight for your mission and from your mission and your vision. So when everything is in alignment, what happens is that people feel motivated to achieve it. When this mission and vision doesn't align, doesn't match up with the goals that you're chasing, or the objectives that you set, or the action tactics that you're actually implementing, if it doesn't match up, they will more than likely not pursue it. And this action, not just for employees, but actually for founders. Sometimes founders gets misaligned. And so when there's misalignment, there's going to be a momentary, I don't know about this. I'm not real sure about this. And that's kind of thinking that's really, sort of sidetracked for a while until you say, okay, I can get over it. So line of sight is so important in moving forward in any size organization. Let's give you an example of me. So I want to win the big Lombardi trophy. You know, it's football season, so I thought I'd do a football analysis. So the goal is to win the championship. Yeah, the Super Bowl would be great to win the championship. But the objective, the major objective we want is, if we want to go after the championship, we have to win 15 out of 20 games. Remember now, the objective is stated in very specific numbers. We want to win at least 15 out of 20 games. So how do we win 15 games? And the overall strategy is we're going to pass 65% of the plays. So if we run 100 plays, 65 of those plays will be passing, and 35% will be by runs. Okay, that's the overall strategy. This is how we're going to win 15 games. This is how we get the championship. The actually small tactics has to do with, all right, of the 65% of passes that we will throw, 85% of those passes are from 2 to 12 yards. So most of our passes are going to be short passes. We haven't specified to the left, to the right, because we're saying it's going to be between the short passes to the 12. And just 15% of our passes are going to be 15 yards or more, looking at least to have a couple of shots down the field, hitting towards 25 yards. The catch and run is great, but this is our plan for the passing. And when we look at the running, 70% of our runs are going to be up the middle, right through the line, hard nose, bang them out of the space and run through them. Or 30% of the runs will be wide sweeps, which we try to run around sideways. So what you're looking at is a strategic plan to get the Lombardi Trophy, win the championship. Goal, objective, win 15 out of 20 games. This is how we're going to win 15 out of 20 games. We'll pass 65% of the time. We'll run 35% of the time. And of the passes, 85% will be short passes, 15% will be down the field passes up to 25 yards. Our runs will be 70% will be to the middle, 30% of runs are wide sweeps. And so the last things in performing, we're heading towards the end. We have maybe about 7 minutes remaining. Time is the only resource you cannot recover. So be sure to manage it carefully. And this is where you need to set everything up through a calendar, time management, whether it's going to be monthly, quarterly, 6 months. What you want to do is you want to put down your strategic plan in writing on calendars, especially on calendars, because they will help you track the time and what's happening at each of the time. So when we look at the final things about performing, write the plan down. So many times I've seen people, I've run large corporations, and I've seen my managers, my executives actually, write the plans down, and then guess what? They write it down. They spend 2 to 3 months working on it, and then they put it in their desk, and they never see it again. And this is one of the things that is just useless. So write the plan down. So you develop the plan, write it down, keep it on top of your desk or workspace. Make sure it is really accessible by you so you can refer to it when you need to. Do not bury the plan in your desk, because you'll forget about it, and then before you know it, you're off track, and all things are happening to you. Important, communicate the plan to everyone. The plan is not secret. It is something that involves everyone in your organization. In fact, sometimes I used to share it with my suppliers. I used to share it with my customers, because we were in wholesale business at that point. We were just in distribution. I'd share it. I share the plans with my different companies, and to show them, where are we going? This is what we want to achieve. Won't you come with us? Train everyone on the planning. No matter if they're small part-time workers, make sure they understand what the plan is. Train them on their parts of the plan. Make people accountable to the plan. Hold them to the plan. Again, hold them in. And what I like to advise is hold them in the software, which means make sure they understand what is accountable, what they're accountable for, but don't hammer them over the top of the head. Just, closely embrace them and help them get to where they should be. But you cannot deviate from the numbers. Measure performance against the plan. Always go back to your plan to see if you're moving forward, moving backwards, or north. Be honest and brutal about the outcome. This is something that I used to often train my young managers, let's say brand new promoted managers, that you have to be brutal about the outcomes. You can't hide behind excuses. If you haven't hit what you wanted to achieve, you got to be honest with yourself. Say, well, we didn't hit it, and some of the reasons why is this. Once you start to dodge some of these facts about outcomes, you're really going to be hurting your organization. So you have to be brutal. Again, be brutal in a kind way. Last thing is pivot when you need, because sometimes things are happening and then there is no other alternative than to change direction. So when you need to pivot, but pivot as close to the plan as possible. Just don't pivot, but look at the plan and say where it is that I can pivot. Last couple of slides. In performing is celebrate the small. This is so critical. When you're running a company, whether large or small, you have to celebrate the small victories. You cannot expect people and yourself as well. You're the owner of a company, you're a founder, you're there in and out. You can't just hammer yourself. What you want to do is when you have these small victories, you've gotten a small, not just a goal, but you've gotten something, an objective done, you got a tactic done. Celebrate it. Make sure you understand that you're succeeding in small steps. So celebrate these small victories. Celebrate often. Don't wait for like once every 2 years kind of celebration. No, celebrate as often as possible, but be realistic. Don't celebrate just because the wind changed, but celebrate these small victories. Always express gratitude to everyone. It includes your customers, includes your employees, includes yourself, and most importantly, express gratitude for your significant others. Why? Because they're alongside of you. They may not be part of the company, but they're alongside of you, and they're also sacrificing some of the things that will make you successful. And so you have to express gratitude to them as well. And always give reward when it's warranted. Do not hold back on it. Reward, reward, reward. So this is strategic planning. And we have maybe about 3 minutes left, but I want a couple more slides before I take final questions if you want to. So you have limited one-on-one complimentary consultation with myself, either in Zoom. So you can either consult the Wahiawa Value Added Product Development Center for times a date, or you can contact me directly. This is my Calendly. I can never pronounce Calendly. So use this to schedule an appointment with me directly. Sorry, I can hardly pronouncing it Calendly. All right. So either of that. So you have a complimentary sit down, talk story session with me, and then we can help you figure out what we can do together to help you business thrive. Also, we want you to schedule tours. I mean, for both of you and you've already there, so you don't have to schedule a tour. And lastly, happy holidays to all of you. And this is a wonderful time of the year. So I'd like to express my gratitude for you investing your time and talking story with me this evening, and now it's evening. So thank you so much and happy holidays. Any questions?
I don't have questions, but thank you so much for walking us through that.
All right. Bert, do you have any questions?
I guess my main question is how you distinguish like what level of detail a plan would go into versus, the line between like the tactical actions versus the strategy, I guess.
Great question. The two things you look at is how much resources do I have that I can invest in that action? And lastly, what's the outcome going to be like? Sometimes you can spend 10 cents and get a $30 return. Or you can spend $30 and get a 10 cents return. So this is how you make it. So it's really And this is where strategic planning is. You're looking at your resource. It's really resource allocation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. All right. Did it help?
Yeah, no, I feel like that's what I am thinking about most is like the level of detail to put into planning versus just executing and moving things forward. But
Yeah. So strategic planning is all about resource allocation. This is how you make the decisions on how you get your best return on investment.
yeah.
If nothing else, Devon, you have anything?
No, this was great. This is, like you said, the time of year to start creating the plan if you haven't already. And that's what I'd like to do for the areas that I work at.
All right, great. Thank you so much. I want you all to go back and have dinner if you haven't had dinner. And I appreciate you both, you three of you coming and visiting with me this evening. And hope to see you very soon at the center. And with that, happy holidays. Have a great time. Good evening. And we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.